Це відео вперше створено для англомовних, щоб протистояти російській пропаганді в моїй країні. Додав українські субтитри. Він короткий, тож терпіть мене.
In a 1972 issue of the Libertarian Forum, the great economist Murray Rothbard directly lifted some quotes from the International War Crimes Tribunal in Stockholm and Copenhagen under Lord Bertrand Russell. He begins with a direct quote from Professor Gabriel Kolko. It says, "In April 1945, General Eisenhower proposed to send a very strongly worded message to the German High Commissioner for Holland, Seyss-Inquart, telling him that, quote, the flooding of large areas of Holland with the resulting destitution, starvation, and the enormous loss of life to the population will constitute a blot on his military honor. He must be told to cease opening the dikes and take immediate steps to assist in every way the distribution of food, and that if he fails in this respect to meet his clear obligations and his humanitarian duty, he and each responsible member of his command will be considered by me as violators of the laws of war who must face the certain consequences of their acts." Unquote. Confronted by such grave warnings, Seyss-Inquart agreed to stop the destruction of the dikes and cooperate in relief measures. Nevertheless, the barbarism of Seyss-Inquart in destroying the dikes and starving the Dutch civilians made him appear in the eyes of the Western officers as one of the worst war criminals. He was one of the 24 Nazi leaders executed at Nuremberg. Then Rothbard goes on to quote some journals and testimonies talking about the United States bombing dams in the Korean War and in the Vietnam War. And he ends with the following quote by Lord Bertrand Russell. "War crimes are the actions of powers whose arrogance leads them to believe that they are above the law. Might, they argue, is right. The world needs to establish and apply certain criteria in considering inhuman actions by great powers." So he did this specifically to criticize American war violence in Vietnam. And frankly, the United States should not have bombed that dam in Korea or the dikes in Vietnam. Now let's talk about a different dam that was bombed recently, the Novokakhovka Dam in Ukraine, which, despite Tucker Carlson and Jackson Hinkle's ridiculous propaganda, gaslighting the public and blaming the Ukrainians, the Russians did it. It was not a maintenance problem. It was specifically detonated from the inside. That is the only way that that dam could be destroyed. And the result was that the Dnipro River flooded hundreds and hundreds of square miles, killed hundreds of people, made tens of thousands of people homeless, but most importantly, it delayed the impending Ukrainian counteroffensive that everybody knew was coming, while allowing the Russian army to pull soldiers away from the Kherson front to put them in the Zaporizhia front and the Donbass front. This specifically helped Russia. This was designed to help the Russian war effort against Ukraine's fight for sovereignty. So, according to Murray Rothbard's own criteria, the Russian army definitely committed a war crime in that one incident. We're not even talking about the mass executions and mass graves in places like Bucha, Izium, Mariupol. The list of war crimes committed by them is absolutely sickening. So, if you're really a supporter of human liberty, you have to hope that Ukraine will win the war. And remember, facts don't care about your feelings.